MERC stands for Mississippi Education Reform Collaborative. It's a group of superintendents who've come together to do what's best for children in their communities. As a part of pooling resources, which is one of the things that they do, they decided it would be interesting to have leadership teams from their schools to participate in this same training over a year. This is the fourth of 4 leadership academies. This one is eliminating low-performing schools, and so we're excited about what the learning is going to happen and how they learn from each other across districts. We have to do more as educators, as practitioners, as advocates, as parents. And in this environment in Mississippi in 2016, there is an attack on public education in a way that will undermine any gains we've made in the last 50 years. It behooves us to step up our game. It's not just enough to be average. It behooves us to be extraordinary in all that we do, particularly as it relates to our children. I'm excited about the day. This morning's keynote address is by someone who is a skilled practitioner as a turnaround expert. As we've looked across the country and tried to talk to folk who actually have experience, skill, success in coming in and turning around districts in what has been called a quantum leap. Not the incremental growth, but big growth in a short order. I'm fortunate to have as a colleague, partner, and friend someone who is experienced as doing that. You all have seen him a lot over the last few weeks, and I'm sure last few months, and I'm sure this was a skill set that you didn't know. Let me encourage you to do this, those of you who registered for the conference and who haven't. As you've gotten emails from me, we've had resource materials in there, and one of the resource materials one day was about a quantum leap. It was actually an article that our next speaker wrote more than a decade ago. It's worth revisiting and seeing again, and seeing and learning what the possibilities are. Let me encourage you to take out your pen and your pad and take notes, because this is an opportunity for us all to learn and grow. Without any further delay, let me present to you our morning keynote speaker, giving the opening remarks, partner at P3 Strategy, Harvard-trained New Yorker who's been in the South almost a decade now, loves and has a passion for Mississippi and its people, and particularly Mississippi's children. Dr. Irving Hamer.
Here are 4 core strategies that are associated with what I consider to be turnaround work. There are 4. And the 4 strategies are mine, and I developed them. They are written down and documented. I've used them in 3 or 4 different sort of experiences. They occurred for me in Miami-Dade public schools, where I've done this work. They occurred in New Jersey, Irvington, New Jersey, and then most recently, I did this work in Memphis, Tennessee. The 4 core strategies. And after I say them out, I'm going to try to break them down, give some detail on them going forward. And excuse me if I pace, and if I don't pace, right? They're trying to videotape me. I like to walk around. I like to be amongst you. Before I end, I also would like to see if anyone has a question they'd like to push up about anything I've had to say. 4 core strategies. Program. You got to have a coherent program. What is the program? And we'll talk a little bit more about what program means and its distinction from what you generally do for all the other children. If you have a school that is chronically low performing, what is the program is the question, and how is it different from what you're doing in the rest of the district? Second strategy, people. This is a people business. Doing it in the way that we customarily do it is really okay, but if you're trying to move a chronically low performing school, who are the people that can help you get that done? And they're not the same people who are doing the other work. Who are the people? Third strategy, conditions. A chronically low-performing school is such because of a set of conditions. It's very important that you understand those conditions and that something be done about those. I'll come back to that momentarily. And fourth strategy, doing the work with existing resources. This is a big deal. No one's coming to this field that we are in with buckets of new resources to do anything new. Just not happening, right? And in a state like Mississippi, chronically underfunded for a very long time, the children who are most penalized by the chronic underfunding are the children who have the least and need more. If you don't move your school, you don't justify getting more, no one's giving you more to help move your chronically low-performing school. It is imperative, it's essential that you try to figure out how to do this work with the existing resources. In the state of Mississippi, there are a large number of schools that are underperforming, and there's a bit of an issue with trying to get them to perform adequately. And what we want to do is gather people together and have a conversation about strategies to help sort of lift the level of achievement among schools and students in unsuspecting places, right? Everyone presumes that because children, for instance, are living in poverty, that they therefore are low performing. Well, there's evidence all over the country that that's not necessarily the case. You just have to do the work a little bit differently. And what we're trying to do today is to help these practitioners get their arms around how they can improve the performance of their schools and their students in preparation for next year's school year.
I want to begin with just the board goals, the MDE board goals, because as you hear about those board goals, you'll see there's a focus on all of our students and making sure that all students improve. And there's been a great deal of focus by members of the board about doing something different about our lowest performing school. So the board goals are, number one is all students proficient and showing growth in all assessment areas. Number two is every student graduates from high school and is ready for college and career. Three, every child has access to high quality early childhood programs. And that's a key one. That's a major issue for our state superintendent. Where we came from in Maryland, preschool was expected for our students. Something that she believes is critical in terms of turning around schools is that we have to get to the students as early as we can. And so encouraging and trying to find funding to have additional preschool programs and getting them as early as possible is critical. Matter of fact, in Montgomery County, which was very interesting, Montgomery County, Maryland, what was interesting is that we had it from birth. And so we were working with the obstetricians and with the parents even before the child was even born, and then having programs for parents when the child was 1 and 2 years old, trying to get them used to understanding numbers, starting to try to read and know letters. And so the earlier we can get to the kids, we believe that is critical. Right now, we've got a number of collaboratives, 11 collaboratives throughout the state. We're asking for more funding to increase that program so we can get the kids earlier in the process. The fourth goal is to every school have effective teachers and leaders. And that's something I'm going to spend a little bit of time about a little bit later. And the last one is every community effectively uses world-class data systems to improve student outcomes. And so one of the things I've worked on since I've been here is this issue around our data systems that we have at the state, which have been and still are to some extent kind of abominable, and the things that we have to work on, and that we've gone to the legislature. Last year did not get funding for that. We're hoping to get funding this year to really revamp what I think everybody knows is MSIS, which we are planning to modernize, and someday hopefully I kill it and we can start over again with something else. But we don't have enough funding to be able to replace it completely, but we can try to improve the quality of the data that's in that system and have more real-time data that we can inform decisions for you in the schools as well as at MDE. So what the board is saying in these goals is that the board wants to improve outcomes for all children. The board wants to ensure that teachers are given the supports to increase student performance. And that's a challenge because of, we're a poor state, but how do we go about doing as much as we can in terms of professional development to support the work that you're doing every day? There's a focus on low-performing schools, and we've had to even go through a process recently that will be at the board in May, where we had to look at all of our goals and all of our strategies and then look at our outcomes. Outcomes got to be measurable, but what are we doing specifically to highlight what we're doing for low-performing schools? I think it's a concentrated effort. It's a very focused effort on those schools, first identifying them, and we've had a number of schools that have been low-performing for years, and so we have to do something different than we've done in the past. And so we're looking at putting a structured program in place, putting some interventions in place that we believe will be effective, and putting the right leadership in place to make those schools more effective moving forward.
Is related to a standard. The kids are learning.
The topic of our workshop was alignment of curriculum and instruction in pre-K to third grade. I'm going to talk to them about the curriculum alignment across all subject areas in literacy, math, and science.
What kind of success have you seen so far with this?
So far, when you put a coherence, organization, and structure in place, we have seen a lot of success with our data.
Education is in such trouble.
The title of our session was The Do's and Don'ts of Test Prep. And the purpose of the session was to inform other principals and other school leaders on what not to do as far as getting your students ready for standardized testing. And a lot of times that testing comes, they feel they need to start from the beginning of the year and they go to the end of the year. Well, this session is to show them that that's not what they need to do. It's what you do at the beginning of the year and how you get your school ready, your teachers ready, and all of your kids ready throughout the year for different types of activities, lessons, and instruction.
What kind of response have you seen so far?
Scholars took more accountability. They took a lot more time with their work. They cared more about their work. They wanted the best grades. They wanted to make sure that everything they did was really a quality product. They wanted to make sure that their teachers were satisfied. But overall, one of the things that we really wanted to do was teach the children how to look at their own data. And that's really what made the big difference, looking at their own data.
The topic of our workshop today was reading and writing across the curriculum. Our focus today was finding and teaching step-by-step a systematic approach for schools to actually enhance their instruction in all content areas, implementing reading and writing strategies. We focused clearly on making engaging activities that the teachers can use in their classroom, but also developing a systematic approach that leaderships also can help teachers in guiding them and motivating them to implement the importance of reading and writing across the curriculum.
What kind of response and success have you seen so far?
It is amazing the aha moments that many educators have to even in content areas to realize that they're already actually implementing some of these strategies in their classroom. Many math, science, and social studies teachers begin to understand that in order to comprehend the concepts that they were taught, they would actually have to implement reading and writing strategies. So therefore, they found this session very, very beneficial and was looking forward to implementing those strategies in their schools.
Our workshop today dealt with community engagement and how schools and districts can be a leader in authentically engaging their community to be able to have them to be partners for district success.
What recommendations do you have for school districts?
One of the biggest recommendations that I have is that the school district take ownership around engaging their community. Many times districts abdicate this to other community partners or don't do this more proactively, and in the changing world that we're in, thinking about sustainability of the reform work that they're trying to do, we believe that community engagement is a critical component to long-term success.
Our workshop today dealt with the transparency and community engagement, the importance for school leaders in our state to direct the narrative about education, to communicate what they're doing, why they do it, what their standards are, the good stuff, the bad stuff, to be transparent and open about the public schools.
What kind of results have you seen from districts that have taken this step?
I think we've seen the districts that that actually adopt this culture of transparency and put the importance on community engagement, how it pays off. We heard a presentation from the Clinton School District who could put results on their ability to communicate, successful bond issues, new schools, hiring highly effective teachers. You communicate who you are and what your standards are, and they will come.
Communication with your community is very critical, not only to share with them the bad news and things that do happen in a school, and they often do, but also sharing with your community the good news as well. Sometimes in school business today, you only hear the negative. There's a lot of really, really positive and good things that are happening, and you need to tell that to your community.
And do you have an organized plan to do that at the Clinton Public Schools?
We do. We 8 years ago hired a public information officer, and by hiring her, I gave her the opportunity to involve social media or use social media, whatever was very, very custom 8 years ago, and how that has rippled out to 2016. That's changed tremendously, but she stays on top of it, and you know, she communicates with our community every day in a very different way.
I want to tell the education experts that they can now control the message thanks to social media, but the trick is knowing how to craft that message, because content is king, but context is God. They got to know how to get the right information out at the right time.
And why is this important for public schools in Mississippi?
Because they have a good story to tell, and now because people's attention has become more fractured, almost like a shotgun blast. People are all over the place, and you have to be able to know where they are, and a lot of times what they are is on their phone, and you got to be able to get that information to them in a compelling way that makes them want to pay attention.
My seminar today is using data to drive student growth and achievement. And the basic topic is using multiple forms of data to narrow down instructional practices that will allow students to improve and grow to what we want them to be. And so the overall goal is to find the holes in instruction using multiple forms of data to improve classroom instruction by the teacher.
What kind of success have you seen so far using this method?
There have been many success stories that show that when you use the data to find the problem, you can solve it. Instead of using some type of Band-Aid or cookie cutter type improvement, you find exactly what the diagnosis is, and you know exactly what to improve, and then build upon that, which changes the morale of the students and the staff.
One of the things that we want to make sure that the participants, attendees, leave with a process and the why they need to do targeted interventions, and also the resources and the data sets they would need to do an excellent job in identifying what each and every individual child would need.
What kind of success have you seen with this method so far?
Well, it's great success. It's one of the key pieces that drives growth for students, because you create a intervention for every child regardless of what end of the spectrum are they on. Are they high performing, or they could be a minimum or basic student? So you're growing every child. So growth is a key piece in this.
We're talking about data mining and how to use that information for targeted intervention. Some of the examples we're going to use is how to take multiple years of student achievement data and kind of align interventions based on what the data actually says, you know, connecting formative assessment to state assessment. So we're going to show live examples and show real data with multiple years of information for particular students.
What kind of results have you seen from doing this?
Well, one thing we've seen is the behavior change, right? So instead of making an intervention based on an achievement band, say of minimal students, we've seen behavior change where they're aligning interventions based on students that may even be proficient and a minimal student because the data says they might have a deficiency in geometry, for example.
Our seminar today will be on creating a college culture at an earlier age. We found, because we deal primarily with high school students, that a lot of them wait until the last minute to even begin the discussion as a family about college planning. So we want to find different ways that teachers in And education representatives, period, can start at a much earlier age of implementing the college-going culture from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
What kind of response have you seen so far?
We've seen great responses because a lot of families want to get that jump start, and especially in a state like Mississippi, where there are many barriers to education for our students. We want to make sure that the discussion begins early and that they start exploring different options for themselves early on.
The MERC Leadership Academies have provided us an opportunity to find out what is working in other school districts, what is not working, and to really reflect on the practices that we're implementing and consider revisions to those practices to ensure that we're doing things that will truly impact student learning. And so the opportunities provided by MERC are just those that enable us to network and find out from others that have similar schools what works and what does not work.
When I first came in, I had some reservations about the challenges and the tasks that was ahead of me because, we're all afraid of the unknown. And I knew that in my district I had a lot of challenges. And by me being out of the P-12 situation for as long as I knew that I needed some assistance. So on my own, I started looking for people who could give me some insight because I wanted to come into the situation with a lot of knowledge. And I was lucky enough to just happen upon the MERC group. And I started training with them before I took office. And I went in with the confidence that I needed to do the job. And so they are providing the leadership knowledge and skills that I need. And so that's why I still continue to come to their sessions.
I've been to more than 4. I think I've been to 5, but every time I come, I get to hear other schools and what they're doing, the strategies that they're using to increase student achievement. I enjoy visiting with the schools that are a part of MERC because we are in this together. We're all trying to raise test scores, and so being able to hear some of the struggles and the problems that they're having and then the solutions that we're able to get through together helps our district out a lot and helps my school out.
This is my first academy to attend, and so far we've learned a couple of strategies that we can take back to our districts and implementing turnaround for our schools. So I've been very excited about being able to do that, how we can impact our student outcomes and changing the culture of our schools.
The value of the MERC Leadership Academy has been phenomenal. I have learned so much this past year in MERC, and I'm just excited about being one of the facilitators today.
Very high value, as a matter of fact. If as long as you're coming in and you're open and willing to listen, willing to take notice to things that have worked in other places, that's the time that it's going to be more valuable for you. But if you're coming in and you're thinking to yourself, well, I've heard this 100 times, these people are coming in, they're telling me about their school, it's not going to work for me, then this is really a waste of time for you. But this is a very value-added type of conference that I think all school leaders should attend, and teacher leaders. That's administrators, superintendents, all of those people, they should all attend these types of conferences.
The MERC Leadership Academy is awesome. It allows educators from around the state to come together, exchange ideas, hear from experts, and to realize that they are not, you're not alone in this fight. Some of the problems that you have, other people have in their district, and you can find new ways to address them in an effective way.
Well, the value of the MERC Leadership Academy is the advantage of the continued process of providing professional learning communities and professional development for educators, making sure that we have an understanding of the updated research and the strategies to work together to implement it to make sure that our schools are successful.
With the MERC Leadership Academy, it gives us the opportunity to network with other people who basically have the same goal at the end of the day, to make sure that Mississippi students are really reaching their potential in their education. So we can just assist them in building, gathering our resources, basically.
I think that there is tremendous value, one, for having a learning community where you're able to learn from your peers all across the state, and then being able to engage others around lessons learned and best practices is instrumental for you to have a professional learning community.
One of the things that it's covered the broad spectrum of leadership. All of the academies is certainly something that we would need in order to have and a mindset to take care as far as school leadership and also ensuring that school community and students are successful.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and it shows up in the emails and the calls that we get afterwards, and of course the evaluations. The way that the teachers and team leaders are integrating what they've learned. So often we, in this accountability era, are focused on teaching to the test. And what we're saying to these teachers and administrators is, the world is bigger than that. And so how do you expand their world, and in turn it helps them expand the worlds of their students.
Tell us, why is education reform needed in Mississippi?
Education reform is needed in this country, particularly in Mississippi, because we have been on a race to the bottom for a very long time. And some of the policies that are coming forth now in the current political climate are not policies to enhance what is necessary for low-performing and under-resourced communities. The better educated your workforce is, the better educated the populace is, the better the communities are. And that's what we need to do. We need to figure out a vision for all people, poor people, black people, young people, old people, in a way that values and affirms them, educates them, because it helps everybody.
The MERC Leadership Academies are a content-based experience for leadership teams from schools that are part of the MERC network. And they come together to share expertise and to learn new strategies and methodologies to do their work better. And the importance of this is that very often the kind of content that the Leadership Academy provides is not available in the state. And in order to get it, very often you have to go outside of the state of Mississippi to get access. And so what the MERC Academies have been able to do is to pull thought leaders together to provide exquisite expertise and insights into the work that these practitioners are actually trying to do.
I am absolutely encouraged. I'm encouraged by the commitment of the leaders to do what's best for their children. I'm absolutely encouraged.
If people have questions, like more information, what should they do?
Please go to the P3 website, www.p3strategies.net. Send us an email at info@p3strategies.net.